Ted, indeed. Everywhere you look, somebody is crying. They're hugging their neighbors, their family, or their friends. Authorities say that the debris field from this tornado was so large, and you can see evidence of that behind me. Just take a look. There is debris strewn everywhere. This is Ryan Meyer's home. The second that he found out that his family was safe, do you know what he did? He ran right across the street to help his neighbor who was in need, a woman trapped under this home as it was collapsing.
The house collapsed in on her. They tried to suck him into the basement at the same time, and it collapsed on top of her. There's nothing we could really do without causing the rest of the house to fall in. We tried to cut her out, we tried to dig her out, but you couldn't without the rest of the house falling from structural damage. But she was passed away, I believe, on impact. And there's nothing nobody could do. The thing come through at a spur moment. When I woke up, I could hear it coming. Every time I looked out the window, my house imploded. Literally every window in my house imploded except for my bedroom.
You had to walk away from this family, trying your hardest, but not being successful. How did you feel in those moments?
I know these people well. It's horrible. Her daddy was one of my good friends. I worked for her for 11 years. And how do you walk away from somebody who's trying to save your life? I mean, it was horrible.
He walked away with so much grief and so much guilt, even though he did everything that he could. And for so many here, it really is personal because they all know each other in some way or another. A few minutes after Ryan and I talked, I looked over at the home where the woman died, and I saw a family member there. And I went over and spoke with her, and she said it was her cousin who had passed away. And we promised that we weren't going to share the name. She wasn't sure if every family member knew the news yet. But she said that the victim had at least a few moments to communicate with family before she passed away.
To either get a text message or a phone call out to her mother, stating it's not looking good, I love you, and just giving her final peace out.
This neighborhood has been hit so incredibly hard. Home after home after home is suffering some sort of damage, if not totally destroyed, which is really tough to see, especially considering that these are brick homes. Some of them are two-story brick homes. They're not mobile homes. So that makes you wonder, what was the exact force of this tornado? There is one man who says he's not lucky, he is blessed, he had a gut feeling, and he left his home just in the nick of time. Here's Robert Grant.
Doesn't look like much now, but this just yesterday was a home before that strong storm ripped through this part of Putnam County. The owner here, Carlin Smith, saw his home for the first time just a couple hours ago, digging through some of this rubble, hoping to find anything that was left. But thankfully, he's coming here today with his life because some of his neighbors here along Highway 70 did not have that fortune. In fact, one woman who lives close to here lost her life with these strong storms. You can see just the damage it left behind in its path there. And we're also talking about some of these electric companies, these crews working hard through the day today. This isn't just their job. This is their community. These are people that live in this area, continuing to fight through and, of course, hoping for the best. And now the owner that lives in the home where I'm standing, his name, Carlin Smith, used to work for the sheriff's department. He says his thoughts right now are with those first responders having to dig through this rubble as they continue to do today and will for many days to come. Reporting in Putnam County, I'm Robert Grant.
This is just another example of the sheer force of this storm. Two cars, who knows where they were parked before they ended up colliding here. One is still lifted off the ground, completely destroyed. And you look up, Pat, to the left, and you see for yards and yards and yards, debris strewn everywhere. Unfortunately, Putnam County, Morgan County, these are not the only areas in Tennessee that look like this today, that look similar. Germantown, a little neighborhood in Nashville, actually right behind the station I used to work at, completely obliterated. Hopefully we're showing you some images of that scene now. You've probably seen many of them on your social feeds today. Chris Conti is covering the Nashville angle of this deadly night of storms for us.
Can really get a true scope of the damage. This is the auto zone that used to sit here on Rosa Parks. It is now completely demolished. The wall collapsed in. If you can see that car off in the distance there, that is an SUV that actually belongs to one of our producers. His name is Whit, and he was on his way into work this morning. Dan, just watch out for the nails that are in front of you here. He was on his way into work this morning when this storm rolled through. To just give you an idea of how incredibly fortunate so many people are here in Germantown, including our producer Whit, the sign from the AutoZone was ripped off of the top of this building and it landed right in front of his car. There is a board that went straight through his windshield that is right in the passenger side. Thankfully, he is okay. He's at the hospital right now getting checked out. Dan, if you want to swing around with me here, you can see just whatever's left of the AutoZone strewn about. We've seen signs from businesses here tossed about a mile or two in any direction. Before that storm went into East Nashville, watch out for the nails. Before the storm went into East Nashville, it started here in Germantown. And you can see as those winds tore through, they had no regard for any kind of structures here. Obviously, we've got tarps that are up in trees here. This home had its garage doors pushed in. What is most remarkable, Dan, come this way with me. What is most remarkable here is if you take a look through the fence line here, you can basically see the exact path that this storm took. It ripped the siding off of the edge of this house here, pulled it down onto the ground, and it left it here on the ground. There are trash cans. I mean, just pieces of people's lives that are out in the yard here that were taken out of these homes. You can see just how terrifying this must have been for so many folks as windows were blown in. There are apartments after apartments after apartments here. There's a rooster that is crowing in the distance here. As you make your way through some of this area, it's just remarkable to see exactly how far this tornado went. We could see in the darkness kind of the silhouette of trees that had been damaged and kind of topped and leveled off by the storm as it went through. But now we can really see how much damage it did to homes here. I mean, we are talking about historic homes here that have stood for decades. Dan, if you come over here, you can get a better view of the front of this house. Gosh, look at this. This is unbelievable. You can see the roof was just ripped off here. It is remarkable, astonishing that no one here in Germantown was killed.
That's Chris Conti in Nashville for us tonight. Meanwhile, back here in Putnam County, this is a tornado that did not discriminate. In some areas, homes completely obliterated. You walk this way, just feet away, a home basically untouched, but you do get a good perspective of the debris field here. Part of what is concerning about this is that authorities say some of their victims were also bearing the brunt of this. So the storm didn't just have enough force to blow debris far places, it also impacted victims too. First responders found victims in areas other than where they survived or went through the storm.